Raider Nation, what's going on? It's Mitchell Renz here, host of the Raiders Report. And coming up on today's show, we're going to get into the latest general manager news because there is some new happenings here around the Raiders GM search. We're going to get into the three guys for what it sounds like right now are the top leaders to be that next GM, which if you haven't already voted, go vote on our live poll here at the very top of the show in terms of who do you want to be the Raiders general manager? Because it sounds like it's either going to be Champ Kelly, Ed Dodds, or Tom Telesco. Again, I have said on this show for about a month, though, everything that I've been hearing, it wouldn't surprise me if the Raiders try to hire one of those three guys as GM and then you try to bring somebody else in terms of a football operation, senior type of personnel role for the Raiders. Also, one of the things that we're going to talk about today is the Raiders OC candidates. I'm going to rank my top 10 OC candidates for the Silver and Black to pair with Antonio Pierce, and I'm going to pair them based on what I think's going to happen, and it's also going to be what I want to end up happening. But there has been some new happenings around the Raiders in their OC search. We already know that Kliff Kingsbury has been linked. There has been two new names now that have been linked to the Las Vegas Raiders in terms of who they could end up hiring to be their next OC. And as far as I'm concerned, if you're going to keep a guy like Antonio Pierce, it is very, very important. It is very critical for you to get that one correct. As always, if you want to get those questions, comments on the show, hashtag Raiders or Super Chat, and we will put you right up here on screen. My question of the nation, though, is who do you want to be the Raiders OC this upcoming season? Do you want somebody like a Zac Robinson from the Los Angeles Rams? What's crazy is, I'll say last week, maybe 2.5 weeks ago, I'm starting to wonder if Mark Davis is starting to watch our show even more because I put out 4 of my top candidates for the Raiders at OC. Kliff Kingsbury, Zac Robinson, Shane Waldron, and then Klint Kubiak. If you've been following with the news, Shane Waldron, he was hired by the Chicago Bears, but guess what? Zac Robinson, he's coming in for an interview. Kliff Kingsbury, he's been very well liked, I guess, in circles for the Raiders. My question, though, is if you could pick the OC of the Silver and Black, who would you end up rolling with here? I see Christopher's going to go with Kliff Kingsbury. JR says whoever gets us Jaden Daniels. Anyone but Bull. Anybody but Bull for Raiders OC. You know what? I'll go with it. That Rams offense is no joke from Rick L. It's not only that, it's the success that the Sean McVay tree has created in the NFL cannot go without being noticed, right? I see Champ Kelly from Sucker Free. You're talking about GM. Klint Kubiak from Ghostmaster. I don't know if I've ever seen somebody misspell a last name more than what Ghostmaster spelled Klint Kubiak's last name. Klint Kubiak from Ghostmaster, Guabact. I don't know how the hell that happened. I see RJ Van's going to go with Kliff here. What's up, y'all? Zac Robinson from Vincenzo, Kliff from AC. Oh, you guys make me laugh. I got to give you a lot of credit. You always make me laugh. Barossa, what's up, man? Appreciate everyone always popping in. I got Abel Beloso in the chat. He's saying some shout-outs to Telesco. Warren, Kliff Kingsbury, as long as it's not Bo with AOC. That I can promise you. Jeremy just whispered into my ear Josh McDaniels, and I'm not going to lie to y'all. I thought about, as a joke, starting the Raiders OC candidates show off with Josh McDaniels just to see how many people would have a meltdown. But then I already knew that there was going to be a lot of people that would take a screenshot and be like, this effing guy, man, he put him on his list. I can't do that. One guy who's number one on every list that I do here at the Raiders Report in terms of who I want producing the show. My guy, Jeremy Chuggs. Everybody give a warm welcome into Chuggs. What's up, Chuggs?
Woo!
What is up? What is up?
Party over here.
Appreciate it. We got Troy
Let's
Gill.
go.
Troy Gill Robinson, OC from the Rams, is a very interesting name. I got Nico Laz actually yesterday on my walk home from work yesterday. I talked to Nico for probably a good 25 minutes. We talked a lot about what's crazy is we have so much in common that, you don't really think about from people get to know us because we're up here. We don't always get to know Nico. Now, I've hung out with Nico in person and had a hell of a time in Las Vegas, but talking to him yesterday, Chuggs, it's kind of weird how much Nico and I have in common. It was not only are we white guys that date Latinas, believe it or not, that's just the surface level.
Oh, wow.
It goes way deeper.
Hey, and for anybody who watched our live show yesterday and you got those picks, you're going to love one of our newest sponsors here at Chat Sports.
Agree. I mean, the Kelsey one is what killed me yesterday. However, is what it is, right? It is what it is.
Speaking of sponsors and sponsors that we love absolutely so much, so dearly, one of those sponsors is PrizePicks.
If anybody wants to get started with our sponsor, PrizePicks, they're the big reason why we've been pumping out a lot of content here. They're a big reason why we can put on the lights here for free. But at the end of the day, they're also made for you because I want to be able to have sponsors that you guys can enjoy.
Yeah, you. I'm talking about Rob the D, Martin, Ken, Unknown, Alex, Richard, Robert. PrizePicks is for you.
It is for you, and I think you guys are going to enjoy it a lot. You can get started by going to prizepicks.com/CLNS. Just make sure that you use code CLNS for a first-time deposit match up to $100. If you're wondering, Mitch, why should I use CLNS? Well, here's the thing. When you do, it tells PrizePicks that you listen to Jeremy and I, and believe it or not, it does help us out a lot. So whether you want to go get started, all you got to do is pick 2+ players, choose more or less. It is daily fantasy sports made easy. I know for this upcoming weekend games, I'll show you my picks a little bit later on, but I got a lot of very fun, intriguing picks for the NFC and the AFC Championship game.
And speaking of the NFC Championship game,
let's go. Lions, Niners, who you got?
Give me an L or give me a 4. What are you thinking?
This is also an important time to tell everybody that's tuned in right now to the 800 people. If you haven't, click that like button. Here's something that I do think you're going to like. We're going to be live for both the AFC and NFC Championship games, so it's going to be a little bit of a marathon day on Sunday for Jeremy and I, but we're going to get it done.
I haven't seen this many L's since Marshall tried to play me in Madden.
Oh, man. Or Rebel in Duck Race. We got Gannon, Captain Rex, Raji Gaines, Isaac, Sherry Lynn, Captain Rex, CJ Cruz. All I can care about is if you can give me a Lions-Ravens Super Bowl, that's all I can hope for. Because if it's 49ers-Chiefs, Christ.
So,
I don't know,
obviously, we know who everybody wants to win this game.
Sure. Who do you think's going to win?
I was going to say, not in your heart, but in your mind, who do you think wins this game?
I mean, the Niners are the better team. To me, it might come down to Jared Goff. Like, if we get the Jared Goff that we know that he can be, where he can be a reliable quarterback, right? Like, he showed up against the he showed up against the Los Angeles Rams. He was pretty good yesterday, too, on top of that. If you can get that running game going and they can really get that play action, I think Goff's one of the best, if not the best play action QB in the NFL. If they can get the running game going and then that happens, that's the right script. If the Niners get a lead, though, oh, man, I'm hoping the Lions win. Give me the Lions, Jeremy. My heart's telling me the Lions. Like, there's no way I can sit up here and pick the Niners.
Dude, I mean, the Niners' D is hard to beat.
I'll tell you what, though. The Lions are one of the best, if not the best, run defense against the running back position in the NFL. Now, that's more based on a fantasy standpoint. I look at a lot of fantasy numbers for PrizePicks and whatnot. They do have a very stout defense, though, on the interior. Detroit does. Mm-hmm. Plus, Detroit's a physical team. I mean, these are two very, very physical football teams.
Jordan got it.
What? Stout D?
I said the 49ers are a hard D to beat.
Yeah, I guess. I don't have experience. I don't know. It's been a while. What's up, John Castillo? Thank you for supporting the show. Much love to you. I don't have as loud of a voice as what I want, but we can go for it. Raiders! What is up, John Castillo? I got a few more questions for the nation out there, and then we will get into the latest news and rumors here around the Silver and Black, because honestly, around the OC candidates, around the GM candidates, there is a lot to deep dive into. Well, if I'm going to ask you about the NFC Championship game, we got to ask you about the AFC one on top of that. I'm so frustrated with the Bills that they lost that game. Tyler Bass deactivated his Twitter account, which I can only imagine what people send. Who you got, though? Chiefs or Ravens?
He should have pushed it left.
I mean, the problem with that kick was it never had a chance. Yeah, I mean, it legitimately never had a chance.
Well, and me and you and, the 1,000+ people that were with us live during that game for our watch party yesterday, we were saying, even with the kick, I didn't like the move by Sean McDermott because you're tying the game up with 1.5 minutes and Patrick Mahomes on the other sideline. If it's 4th and medium, I was saying you go for it because you got to push the envelope. You're going up against the Chiefs, a team that's made it to the AFC Championship game, the past 5 years, has made it to numerous Super Bowls, has won a couple Super Bowls. So I don't think in that situation, with everything on the line, I'm putting it in my best player's hands for the Bills, which is Josh Allen.
Yeah, I mean, I'll tell you what, I was very disappointed in the game that Sean McDermott called yesterday. I mean, I really think that
the DeMar Hamlin fake?
That's up there. I don't know what was the worst call, the DeMar Hamlin fake or the end around with McCole Hardman. Both were just brain-dead type of coaching moves, but to me, Sean McDermott did not put the ball in Josh Allen's hands when the game should have been put in Josh Allen's hands.
Israel's correct, too. That 3rd and 9 play killed him. He had Diggs on the drag route underneath. He went for the touchdown throw, which was open, but he got kind of nudged as he threw the ball, so it was 2 or 3 yards short.
Yeah, I mean, the way I look at it was the Bills lost that game. The Chiefs won the game. I mean, the Chiefs were by far the better team the entire game. I know it was a very back-and-forth game, but it just felt like the entire time the Chiefs were going to win. Like, they were going to find a way to get a dub. I think the Bills are lucky to only have lost 27-24.
And that's why I said in that situation, I'd throw the ball with Josh Allen and at least tell him, hey, run some 4 verts, maybe the 2 slot guys hit some crossing patterns and say, hey, if you don't see anything, run.
Yeah, it was very, very frustrating game, but hey, it is what it is. As long as I said it's not Chiefs and Niners in the Super Bowl, I will be a happy camper. If it is, well, either way, Chugs and I, we're going to actually be out in Las Vegas. So if anybody wants to party with Jeremy and I during Las Vegas week, if you want to pull up to our Super Bowl 58 watch party, if you're wondering where it's going to be at, it's going to be at the Ahern Luxury Boutique Hotel. If anybody's ever been to like a Texas Live, an Xfinity Live type of atmosphere, it's going to be the first 100 people that show up. We have an entire room. It's got a stage. There's going to be big-time lights. It's going to be insane. We're going to be doing giveaways, jerseys, football. I've been told there's probably going to be some Raiders players there. If you're wondering when, it's Sunday, February 11th at 2 p.m. Pacific time. I was told there's also going to be some other Raiders content creators there.
Oh.
It's going to be deals where if somebody throws in a hundo like Justin Abgen and he bangs everybody that pulls up to the bar that day, guess what? You guys are going to get some free drinks as well. We're going to have a full bar. It's going to be a whole thing. It's something that I think really can take the Raiders report to the next level. So if anybody wants to pull up and watch the show with Jeremy and I, can you show them what the arena looks like, kind of?
Oh, yeah.
Just, I don't want the Niners or the Chiefs in the Super Bowl. It's a heartbreaking thing as a Raiders fan. So here's what the hotel itself looks like. It's a little bit away from the Strip. However, there's a lot of awesome things that you can do in there. Like they have an amazing chop house. If anybody needs an awesome steak from Joel's, if anybody needs like a wine tasting bar. I know Jeremy and I, we're going to have dinner here at Joel's 2 nights leading up to the week. I've been trying to really up my wine game, so if you're maybe you want to bring your significant other, you want to bring your wife, they do have a wine bar and social club, so it's not just pulling up for the Super Bowl. If you want to know what the venue itself looks like, this is what the venue looks like. So in this case, I would be the performer, Jeremy would probably be the chair, and then all of you would be sitting there having a good time. And as you can see, full bar in the background. One screen's going to have the Super Bowl. The other screen, which you guys can't see, it's on the left side, that's going to be the Raiders Report. Bottom line is I want to take this show to a new level. So if you want to pull up, it's free to get into Ahern Luxury Boutique Hotel. February 11th, the show's going to get started about 90 minutes to 2 hours before kickoff of the Super Bowl. If you want to call Ahern and say, hey, I want to reserve my spot right now, they told me that you will be able to do that. So if you do show up, they won't turn you away. From what I understand, it's going to be first come, first served, but you can give them a call and say, hey, I want to reserve my spot for the Raiders Report. Let's go to Love Affair LA. Big fan of the channels, y'all. Go Raiders, #trade up. So your team trade up, and this is one of the topics of my discussion that I had last week where I said, if you're the Raiders, you got to figure out a way to trade up. The problem with this is the NFL draft isn't a mock draft. The NFL draft, like if you were to ask me, do I think the Bears, Commanders, and the Patriots take a quarterback in the top 3, I'd probably say yes. Like I don't know which one of those 3 teams decides to say, I'm not going to take a QB, because now I think Caleb Williams goes number 1 to Chicago based off of them hiring Shane Waldron, and Waldron's got some inside ties here with Caleb. The Commanders and the Patriots, I think the Commanders are going to end up taking a QB. The Patriots then are the other team, and I don't know if the Patriots end up trading back. If New England decides to go with a wide receiver like a Marvin Harrison Jr., then if you're the Raiders, you better pull up to the scene as quick as you possibly can and trade up for Arizona and 4. The problem with that idea is, though, can you wait until draft day to trade up? Because if you wait until draft day, that means you're passing on all the quarterbacks in free agency. That means, you're not going to try to get a Justin Fields, a Russell Wilson, a Kirk Cousins, because what you can't have is you can't miss on those top 3 guys. You can't miss on all the quarterbacks in free agency, and then you're going to be stuck with. I don't want to be stuck with Bo Nix. I don't want to be stuck with Michael Penix Jr., J.J. McCarthy, and for whatever. You cannot roll with Aiden O'Connell again.
Yeah,
that can't happen. So if you're the Raiders, to me, if you're going to trade up, you're going to have to do it during March, right? You're going to have to make that move way, way before the NFL draft. And that probably means you're going to have to pay a little bit more in order to do it. But sometimes it's what you got to do. If you didn't watch that game last night, or realistically, the entire playoffs, the Ravens with Lamar Jackson, hell, even the Texans this season with C.J. Stroud, but the Bills with Josh Allen, the Chiefs with Patrick Mahomes, if you don't look at those games and go, we need a difference maker at quarterback, I can't help you. If you watch those games and you go, we can win with Aiden O'Connell, I question your ability to make proper decisions at the QB position. The Raiders need a difference maker at quarterback to compete. Bottom line is that. The only way to do it, you trade up, or you're going to have to get interesting. And that interesting to me means trading for Justin Fields or signing a guy like Russell Wilson. Let's go to Mount Raider Moore, David Zahn. No, you get it done now so you can have a plan of attack for free agency and the draft. Couldn't agree with you more. If you do it right now, you lay the blueprint, right? And one of the perfect offseason plans that I came up with for the Raiders to me was you trade up for a quarterback now, and then your entire free agency is about building that offensive line, signing a big-name defensive tackle to take some pressure off Tyree Wilson, and then in the draft, because you're going to give up a lot of draft capital, that's when you go and you draft some of those depth players. The guys that you need to fill out that bottom part of that roster because it is going to be a little bit cheaper. Taino, what's up, my brother? Do you think Dak is on the hot seat and can be traded, which will add another link to the QB mix? Is Dak on the hot seat? Yeah, but he's always on the hot seat. When you're the quarterback of the Dallas Cowboys, when you're 2-5 in the postseason, you're going to be in trouble. But, why? Here's my question on the Raiders. Dak Prescott is a good quarterback, right? He's, I would say, a top 10 QB in the NFL, whether you want to hear that or not. However, though, if you're the Cowboys, you're going to trade Dak for 2+ first-round picks. I think that's probably what he ends up going for. Mike McCarthy said that he wants to end up keeping him.
Yeah, well the whole situation is...
Why are you, I honestly think what it's going to take for you to get somebody like Dak Prescott, it might cost the exact same to trade up into the top 3.
Well, I was going to say, and if you're the Cowboys, if you trade Dak Prescott, who's, say what you will about him, a borderline top 10 quarterback.
He was in the MVP discussion.
Yeah, a borderline top 10 quarterback. Depending on whenever he's playing, who's all playing, and how everybody's playing, he's around a top 10 quarterback in the NFL.
Yep.
If the Cowboys trade him away, what's your plan of attack? Where do you go from there?
I have no idea.
You don't have anybody else. You have Cooper Rush. So, you do have a pretty good plan at quarterback.
Trey Lance, is that your plan? If you're keeping Mike McCarthy, how can you then move on from Dak Prescott? If they would have fired McCarthy, then I could have said, all right, I could see them moving on from Dak. I don't see a world where you can keep one but not the other.
Yeah, and the whole point of it is I see people saying, Dak's overrated, which, I somewhat agree with, but at the same token, there's nobody better that you can replace him with right now.
I would rather trade up for a QB. Like, that's my point. I would rather the Raiders trade up for Jaden Daniels, Drake May, Caleb Williams, if possible, than going out and trying to get Dak Prescott. But, like, wouldn't you rather just sign Russell Wilson to potentially a $1.21 million deal, or even just sign Russell Wilson in general off the free agent market instead of trading a bunch of capital away for Dak Prescott? Like that's the other side. If you said Russell Wilson, Dak Prescott, who's the better quarterback? I would probably say Dak's the better QB. But if I don't got to trade anything for Russell once Denver cuts him, like if you're going to go with somebody that's going to piss a bunch of Raider fans off, because here's the thing, if they trade for Dak, that's going to piss a bunch of people off. You're better off than just signing another QB that's going to piss a bunch of people off.
Yeah.
Like, I hear you, but it's not going to happen. Patrick B., any GM or OC news? Tons. Tons and tons. Saw the Chargers' old GM is having a second interview. How about this? We will get into a few more super chats from Raji, Josh, Abel, and then what I want to end up doing is getting into, there was a tons of stuff that we got to cover today.
Let's get 400 likes on today's show. We're at 240. We got over 1,000 people watching right now.
Patrick B., 420.
420. There
420
we go.
for Patrick B.
Can we get 420 likes on the program, and then we'll go ahead, get into the latest Raiders news and rumors for today.
I like it.
Raji,
Josh Allen, edge. Raiders should go for him. I do think Josh Allen is a hell of an edge player, but then again, it just comes down to where you're going to allocate your money this offseason. Like, the amount of money it's going to cost you to get a dude like Josh Allen at edge, I think I would actually rather spend that money and go out and get a defensive tackle, maybe like a Justin Matabuke, maybe somebody like a Christian Wilkins to build that interior. Because to me, if you took pressure off Tyree Wilson by adding another stud DT, like that to me is the better investment in money. Don't get me wrong, Josh Allen, Malcolm Kuntz, Max Crosby would be fun, but I would rather allocate that $20 million instead of going out and paying Allen, because he's probably going to get even more than that. And I would allocate that to the defensive tackle
You need
spot.
guys who can stop the run so that you get other offenses into second and third and long. So then you can say, Max Crosby, Malcolm Kuntz, get after the quarterback.
Yeah, don't get me wrong. If the Raiders went out and got Josh Allen, I'm not going to be upset about it, right? To me, though, adding a big-time DT on the interior is not only important for the Raiders' interior, you're losing Adam Butler, you're losing some older players, but to me, it's that investment to then help get more one-on-ones for Crosby, but then also just take some pressure off Tyree Wilson. Because if Tyree Wilson turns out to be a hell of a player in the first round, and it's because he got some help at DT, then that's a huge, huge win. If you add a guy like Josh Allen, I don't really see how that helps out Tyree Wilson. Josh, as much as I want Champ, if we were going to trade up for a top 3 pick, we could use those comp picks we will get for him. Dodds is my second option. I always try to be very honest with y'all, and this was, probably about a month ago, maybe 2-3 weeks ago at this point. I said Ed Dodds was a guy that I liked more than Champ Kelly. Hell, I even had Trey Brown over a guy than Champ Kelly. I get it. Champ Kelly is a good GM. Dodds, to me, though, was the better overall hire, and if you can figure out a way to bring in both of them, I'm absolutely on board. And yes, those extra comp picks would help. Let's go to Abel. Champ's also got to get hired for you to get those 2 third-round comps. What's up, Abel? The Bills traded the 10th overall pick to the Chiefs for the 27th overall pick. Third-round pick, 2018 first-rounder back in 2017, and the Chiefs used that pick to select Patrick Mahomes. If you have a guy that you like, right, and when I think about quarterbacks and all that type of good stuff, when I tell people it's going to cost 3 picks this year, like the first, second, third, this year's draft, first, second, third, and next year's draft, and if that's what it costs to go up and get Jaden Daniels, people are always like, man, that's a lot. But if you find your guy, it's not a lot at all, right? Then it's looked at as a steal. And I know this is an unfair thing to say because of all the different regimes the Raiders have had, but until Las Vegas shows me that they have the ability to get it right in the first round, I even look at first-round picks now as kind of, like fairy tales. If I told you that you could trade Tyree Wilson, Alex Leatherwood, and Damon Arnett, 3 first-round picks to get your franchise quarterback, where do I sign up? Now, I get it. We don't have Mayock and Gruden anymore. You don't have a lot of these bad regimes. But that is something like people look at first-round picks as, oh, wow, that could be anything. That could be a boat. The Raiders have been getting shitty boats.
If I told you you could trade 3 first-round picks for C.J. Stroud right now.
Texans laugh in your face. Texans, if you said 3 firsts for C.J. Stroud, Houston goes, I want another. I honestly don't think the Texans would trade C.J. Stroud 6 first-round picks.
Well, I don't
it's
think. It's
not possible. I'm just saying,
like
it's the joke always, 20 first-round picks for Patrick Mahomes. Chiefs tell you to go shove it.
Like how you say, the starting point would be 4 first-rounders for Max. I think the starting point for C.J. Stroud would be all of your picks in this year and next year's draft.
And I don't think the Texans do it. You shouldn't do it. If you're still Houston, you say no to that. Can you imagine your watch party, though, for the draft with all those picks?
Dude, it would be.
It'd be nuts. Eric M., Baker Mayfield. I mean, if Baker was smart, and I think even if the Bucs were smart, why would you not keep him in Tampa? To me, Baker's going to get a deal very close to what Jimmy Garoppolo got. Something like 3 years, $72 million in that realm. But for Baker Mayfield, the Bucs, nobody thought the Bucs were going to be good, right? Like let's be real. Nobody thought the Bucs were going to be good, and they won a playoff game. So I think that it just makes sense for him to stay. I will admit, though, if Tampa doesn't retain Mike Evans and they lose some of those weapons on the offensive side of the football, you might see a different version of Baker.
Yeah. The Bucs are in a weird spot where their roster's really good, but I just don't see how they can take it to the next level right now.
I mean, Baker got you to the playoffs. You got a playoff win. Don't overpay him. Don't spend so much like the Seahawks overpaid Geno Smith.
Yeah.
If you could find some type of deal that you can get Baker around that $25 million a year mark, because that's what he's going to covet. You go if you do what the Giants did with Daniel Jones, way too much. If you do what the Saints did with Derek Carr, it's way too much. You got to find that happy medium, and I think the deal that's most similar is what Jimmy Garoppolo got for the Raiders. But even that, though, I'm not paying Baker Mayfield $25 million if you're the Las Vegas Raiders with this current state. It doesn't make sense to me.
Yeah. Wild one. David's on again. No trading above pick 5. Why?
Yeah,
if you're trading to pick 5 or 6 and all 3 quarterbacks are off the board, then what are you even doing?
That's the problem. If you're the Raiders and if you make a trade before the NFL draft that isn't in the top 3, it's probably the most idiotic thing that you can do. Because why trade up to pick 4? Why trade up to pick 5? Why trade up to pick 6? Because the only way you're trading up is to get that quarterback of the future.
Yeah.
So you're going to trade up to one of those spots when then there's a chance that your QB's not going to be there.
Respectfully disagree. I think if you're going to go for it, you go for it. It's commitment to excellence, not commitment to mediocrity.
I mean,
you got to go for it and try to get your guy. You can't be we'll get the 5th or 6th best quarterback.
Yeah,
that makes no sense.
There's no way. If the Raiders were to not trade up into the top 3 before the NFL draft itself, I would go absolutely berserk, because to me it's one of the dumbest things that you could possibly do.
If they traded
can't do that.
If they traded up for a non-quarterback,
oh my Christ! I'm telling you what. If they traded up for somebody that's not a QB, you better hope that player turns into the best offense. Joe Alt better be the best left tackle in a long, long time, right? I'm just trying to. You better find the best corner in football. You better find the best edge rusher in football, the best DT. They got to turn out. If you're going to give up all those picks to not take a QB,
I think it's either
that might even be more risk.
I think it's either trade up into the top 4 because one of those teams maybe gets a wide receiver in Marvin Harrison.
Yeah.
It's either trade up into the top 4 or don't trade up at all.
Steve L., what's up, Mr. Golden Bachelor? What up, boys? Not sure I can do Super Bowl Sunday, but if you do something the day before, I'm there. Unfortunately, we're not going to do any. I'm worried if we do something the day before, then there's going to be people that don't show up for the actual Super Bowl watch party. I know I'm probably going to be having dinner with my dad that night, so TBD. But we're going to basically be at the Ahern Hotel the entire Friday, Saturday, and Sunday. We also have media passes, so the Chat Sports team, part of the Chat Sports team will be out there the entire week. Chugs and I, we're going to show up on Wednesday, so we'll be able to sit down with a lot of the players, coaches, all that kind of good stuff for Media Row.
I think it's just going to be me and you.
Yeah, just you and I at Ahern, nobody else. Our bosses might show up later, but to be honest with you, the only day that we're going to do a true meet and greet is on Super Bowl Sunday. It's just the only way I think our schedules can make it work. But if I have free times, I will do my best, man. Anytime Chugs and I go out to Vegas, we try to meet up with as many people as humanly possible.
Doing a Planet 13 meetup.
Oh, man, that would be interesting, especially with this group. What up, Wild One? I'm not trading up before the draft. I'm not trading up unless a QB falls during the draft. I'm not going to be the San Francisco to these picks.
If you're going to be the San Francisco, I would say good job because they're in the NFC title game right now. Like if you're saying,
I think he's talking Trey Lance, which
I
was a bad trade. I mean, that's just then Wild One. So that means you're okay then not getting Jaden Daniels, Caleb Williams, Drake May. That's fine. That means you're not going to have a chance to get Kirk Cousins, Justin Fields, Russell Wilson. Totally fine. So what would be your plan then? Because your plan to me says I'm okay going with Aiden O'Connell. I'm okay with going with Michael Penix Jr. I'm okay going with a Bo Nix, a J.J. McCarthy. So you can have that plan. That's fine to me. I just want to know then what your plan is of action because you're not getting a top quarterback in the draft. You're going to be going with one of those other guys.
Ken Kenyon said, I'll go if Yoder is there.
There's a chance that Yodes will be there. To me, though, like this is a year that you just can't afford to pass on QB. Ruthless Raider, and then we're going to get into the latest news and rumors. Saul Mock, where we got 4th overall, trading our first, second this year and next to get Jaden Daniels. Then got Sweat in the 3rd. Love it, but is it possible? I mean, to me, that seems like a decently reasonable trade. 1st and 2nd this year, and then next year to get the 4th overall pick to me, yes. But you got to hope then that one out of those 3 teams doesn't take Jaden Daniels. You also then got to think of, like, to me, if that scenario happens, if you think the Raiders are the only team that's going to pick up the phone and give Arizona a call, you're crazy. Like, I think there's going to be multiple NFL teams that pick up that phone and try to get that pick there for Jaden Daniels. But, yes, it is possible. My point is, though, if the Raiders wait and then those top 3 quarterbacks go, you're effed. Totally effed. All right, y'all, let's get into the latest news and rumors. JB Killa says people are forgetting about Jordan Travis. Problem is, I just don't think Jordan Travis is very good. He's a good college QB. He's a good college QB. Like, there's certain guys built to be college QBs. He's not an NFL guy. Not that I've seen yet. Maybe I'm wrong. I got to watch a little bit more tape. But he's not a guy that I'd be like, that's our dude.
Jeff Garcia said Adams said he would like Kirk Cousins.
Kirk Cousins was a name that was mentioned by Adams. Again, though, you got to think about this. The only way I would want Devontae Adams, or not Devontae, the only way I'd want Kirk Cousins is if you hired Clint Kubiak to be your OC, because the best year Cousins ever had was with Kubiak when he was also a part of the Vikings. But then also, you're going to pay Kirk Cousins $40 million a year coming off of popped Achilles. And if you think that that's too much or no way Cousins is going to get that, is Cousins a better quarterback than Derek Carr? Yes. Is Cousins a better quarterback than Daniel Jones? Yes. Both of those guys are making above $37.5 million. Kirk Cousins, I promise you, will get a deal bigger than $40 million a year. And if he doesn't, let's say it goes on the cheaper side. Let's say it's 35, because it's not going to go underneath that. $35 million for Kirk Cousins coming off of popped Achilles. A QB that also has never been able to get to the big game. You know what I mean? Like, sure, these are ideas. I would just rather go get the quarterback of the future to me in the draft. I don't really want Kirk Cousins. Mount Raidermore, except Zahn, said, give us Lance. Except Zahn. I mean, Trey Lance, I'm probably good on.
That's plan G.
Yeah, that's
like if plan A, B, C, D, E, F.
The German alphabet has 30 letters. Whatever the 30th letter is, maybe it's the O with the umlaut. That's where that is. I'm good on Trey Lance, man. I'm good on that. Yes, Nico said, bro, that's plan Z. That's World War Z if that ends up happening. I'm good.
We've decided we're just going to roll with Trey Lance.
Search high. I would trade up to get a QB, just get extra 6th and a 7th. I'm not worried about a 6th and a 7th. I know people want extra picks to go up, though, to number 1. If somebody says, no, we're not going to throw in a 6th and 7th, that's not going to be well, I'm not doing it then. 6th and 7th, when you're trading up to 1, that's like me saying, here's a few $100, and you going, well, I at least want an extra quarter and a penny. Like, it's not going to happen. Sir Chai, Raiders have done well on 5th, 6th, and 7th round picks. It's because there's not a lot of stress there. There's also been a lot of different moving parts. But, yes, the Raiders, they do really, really got to get it ready.
And David Zahn saying he thinks Waldron is confused and that he's talking about Justin Fields.
Yeah, I'm not sure. Wrong way. We go all in on top 3. Don't even look back. I'm with you. I would do whatever it takes to get into the top 3. Okay, let's go. News, rumors here on today's show. We're going to talk about everything going on around the Raiders GM search. We're going to talk about everything going on with the Raiders OC search. Then I have it ranked my top 10 Raiders OC choices. I am really, really excited to be able to get into this list here. Right. A lot of good names.
375 likes. Let's get 50 more likes as we start today's show. There's over 1,200 people watching. I know not everybody's liked the video. I'm going to give shout-outs for the next 20 seconds to everybody who's liked the video.
And then we will do the super chats after this first segment.
Type me if you've liked the video.
Oh, hang on
No
a second.
cheats.
Hang on a second. I'm in there. We got to get to 420. Once we get to 420.
Raiders report, Steven, Girthy Raider, Blue Richards, Jason, Aiden Woods,
Girthy
Ghost,
Raider.
Matthew
What a name.
Y, Robert Cisneros, Tyree, Juan, Daniel Capskino.
You think Girthy Raider and Aggressive Master Raider ever hang out on the weekends?
They're cousins.
Oh, are they? Twice removed? I don't know if that's good, actually. What up, CJ Cruz, Cesar? What up, Richard Rivas, Mr. Ron Raspberry? What up, Jay? To the 1,200 people here that pulled up today, appreciate each and every one of y'all. Let's get into the latest news and rumors around the Silver and Black coming up right now. Raider Nation, what's going on? It's Mitchell Renz here, host of the Raiders Report. And coming up on today's show, we're going to get into the latest Raiders OC rumors. We're going to talk about, right now, there's certain candidates that are going to be brought in for the hiring process. And then at the very end of today's show, I am going to give you my prediction on what I believe the Silver and Black could end up doing, because I think they have a plan at OC. On top of that, we have a lot of GM news to discuss because it sounds like it could happen today or tomorrow, according to multiple sources. But here's the thing, man. I want you to subscribe for Raiders videos every single day. Once the Raiders hire a GM, we're going live. Once the Raiders hire an offensive coordinator, I'm going live. At the end of the day, this show is about what the nation thinks, and I love having that instant reaction type of feel. So when the Raiders do hire a GM and OC, not only are we going to party on here, but we're also going to be able to break it all down for you. So hit that subscribe button and turn on those notifications. All right, so let's talk about the thing that literally just dropped here. Albert Breer tweeted out the Steelers and Raiders have put in slips to interview Rams pass game coordinator Zac Robinson for their OC jobs. Robinson interviews with the Patriots tomorrow, previously interviewed with the Bears. Also, according to a source, he finished in second place in the Bears interview process to be their OC, which I do think is very important because Champ Kelly has a lot of ties to Chicago, and they're going to be able to trust what each of those groups are saying overall. But on top of that, though, Zac Robinson has been a name that I have brought up multiple times here on the show, so it sounds like Mark Davis has listened here a little bit. But in terms of who's going to be the next Raiders OC, Las Vegas has started having more OC conversations. Breer also reported yesterday that 3 names that he's heard were Shane Waldron, who was just hired today by Chicago, Kliff Kingsbury, and then Luke Getsy. So we're going to talk a little bit more about Kingsbury. We're going to talk a little bit more about Getsy coming up here, and I'll give you my 2 cents on what I think about both of these guys and how they would fit with the Silver and Black. Like Zac Robinson, I'm telling you right now, I think that would be one hell of a hire by the Raiders. In terms of Getsy, he's the former offensive coordinator for Chicago, and the Raiders have been looking at him for their next OC job. He definitely has some ties with Champ Kelly. I will admit they were never on, like, when Champ Kelly was working with Chicago, that's where Getsy wasn't, though Getsy's been a prominent figure in the NFC North for quite some time, working with a bunch of Green Bay Packers teams. But he was the OC the last 2 seasons. If you're looking for somebody that knows how to run the football, Getsy's had some success in that guard. He's been working in the NFL since 2014. He's actually from like 3 hours away from me, which I found out he even has coached at a few schools that I played against back in college, which is kind of wild. In his 30s, about to be, I want to say 40 years old this upcoming year. If you're looking for what he has done at the college level, this is what he's done from the college ranks. He started at Akron, then he went to West Virginia Wesleyan, where he was OC/quarterback coach. Pittsburgh grad, Indiana, PA, that's close to me. I actually have a bunch of my friends who went there. Western Michigan, wide receiver coach, and then Mississippi State OC/wide receiver coach back in 2018. Not only does he have that experience, he's got a lot of NFL experience as well. With the Green Bay Packers, with the Chicago Bears, he was kind of an up-and-coming person in terms of could he be a coach that didn't have a lot of play calling experience, but if you're the NFL and you're a team and you can find that next young, great play caller, that's where teams can get separated. For Chicago, I think they were really hoping that Getsy was going to be somebody to keep in mind. And on top of this, if they do hire Champ Kelly, and if Champ Kelly ends up going with somebody like a Justin Fields as your next quarterback, I'd really be intrigued to know if they were to decide to bring in Getsy. I'll talk a little bit more about this, though, coming up here in just a second. The other person to keep in mind here is Kliff Kingsbury, and Coward talked about it last week. I talked about it as well, and he essentially said that if Antonio Pierce were hired, that Kliff Kingsbury would be a name to consider for OC. We obviously know now that Antonio Pierce has been hired to be the Raiders head coach. And Collins said, I have a source that told me Kliff Kingsbury is his likely OC if he gets the job. Breer also then doubled down and said that Kingsbury is a Raiders OC candidate. So there's a lot of smoke that continues to grow around this idea of bringing Kliff to the silver and black. And he's got some coaching experience on top of that. And he's played in, I shouldn't say played, he's been a coach with a lot of spread style of offenses, right? You go back and you look at some of those old school Houston Cougar type of offense, man, they were not afraid to chuck it around. Texas A&M, Texas Tech worked with Patrick Mahomes. Then Arizona with Kyler Murray. I will say, though, I think when people hear air raid, when they think of Kliff Kingsbury, they think of totally spread out offenses. That does not mean, though, that he's not going to run. In fact, you go look at a lot of those Kliff Kingsbury offenses, and they've had some success running the football. What I like, though, about it is the most dynamic offenses that Kliff has ran have been with quarterbacks that are difference makers. And to me, if you're going to bring in a guy like Kliff, you got to go find your difference maker at quarterback, because if there's one thing that I learned, and it's not anything that I learned, something that I already knew, if you watch Patrick Mahomes, Josh Allen, Lamar Jackson, you need to have a quarterback that's just different. Because if you're rolling out with Aiden O'Connell, Derek Carr, Jimmy Garoppolo, Brian Hoyer, guess what? You're not competing with those teams on a weekly basis in the National Football League. So it's going to be my pinned comment on today's show, which means you're about to get hit with a YouTube ad break. I want you to scroll on down and give me your honest opinion. Who do you want to be the Raiders OC this upcoming season? Last week, I gave y'all my top 4 candidates to be the Raiders OC. Kliff Kingsbury, he has now been linked to the Raiders. Clint Kubiak, I'm still hoping the Raiders put in the interview for him. I think he would be a really good fit here with AP. Zac Robinson, shout out to Mark Davis for listening up. That's a hell of an interview that they got there. And Shane Waldron was just hired by the Chicago Bears. So the bottom line is I gave 4 names for my top OC. Waldron's already been hired. 2 names that they're going to interview. So good job, Mark Davis. It sounds like they're doing things the right way. Here's the thing, though, right? If I'm going to talk about me being excited about Kliff, I'll be real. I'm not loving the idea of going out and bringing in Luke Getsy to be the OC. He kind of ran a very vanilla offense there in Chicago. Could you put some blame on the offensive line? Yes. Could you put some blame on Justin Fields? Absolutely. However, though, according to a source that was very tied in with the Bears team itself, Fields and Getsy had an okay relationship at best. What you don't want, and I don't think that the Raiders will do this, is you can't bring in Getsy to be an OC and then you trade for Justin Fields. Like, that to me doesn't make any sense. What I do think, though, could end up happening here is what if the Raiders had an idea of their OC QB coach being very similar to what they're doing with GM and front office. I'll explain this a little bit more in a second. So, coming up, what I think the Raiders are going to do on the offensive side of the football, what the Raiders are going to do at OC, and what the Raiders are going to do at the quarterback coach position. At least, this is what I would recommend them to do. I will tell you that, but I do got to tell you about our awesome sponsor here, PrizePicks. I love doing PrizePicks, especially during the playoffs, AFC Championship game. Lock it in. NFC Championship game, lock it in. I can already guarantee you I'm going to be doing this pick. All you got to do is pick 2+ players, choose more or less. And if anybody wants to get started, you can find the links down below. It's prizepicks.com/CLNS. Just make sure that you use code CLNS for a first-time deposit match up to $100. Also, when you use code CLNS, that tells PrizePicks that you watch Jeremy and I's show, which, believe it or not, it does help us out quite a bit. So quick withdrawals, easy gameplay, and an enormous selection of players and stat types are what make PrizePicks the #1 daily fantasy sports app. My picks for this weekend's games are as followed. Give me more on the rushing yards for Lamar Jackson at 59.5. I think if you're going to keep Patrick Mahomes on the sideline, to me, Lamar's a hell of an athlete. He had a great game against Houston. You can ask Chugs on that. But also, Josh Allen showed that he could have some success running the ball. Give me the less on 1.5 passing touchdowns for Jared Goff. I think he has 1 touchdown. I'm hoping they get that running game going. Anything with Christian McCaffrey on PrizePicks, I'm just going to be real with y'all. I always go with more. Rushing yards, receiving, give me the more on it. And then Patrick Mahomes on 0.5 interceptions. I took the more on that one as well, hoping the Ravens, who I think have the best defense in the NFL, get a nice little pick, be great little pick 6 Jack Jones action against Mahomes. So again, y'all, if you want to go get started with PrizePicks, it's prizepicks.com/CLNS. Just make sure that you use code CLNS for a first-time deposit match up to $100. So my plan for the Las Vegas Raiders on the offensive side of the football at OC, it's more of a idea, and I want you guys to hear me out on this idea. So to me, what I love the fact that the Raiders are doing is they're saying, all right, we're going to hire Antonio Pierce. We know that he's a first-time head coach, and maybe he's a little bit in over his head. That's okay, right? It's a new job. I think anybody, when they start a new job, you're in over your head a little bit. But what's important is you build a great staff and you build a bunch of good coaches around him. So what if we had this idea of, what if we brought in Kliff Kingsbury to be the OC? And then you bring in Luke Getsy as a quarterback coach, because Getsy's had quite a bit of success as a QB coach. And then you could bring Kliff Kingsbury in at OC, and I do think that this would be creating a very intriguing offense overall for the Raiders, because when you combine Kingsbury's success in terms of the air raid with an athletic quarterback, it's intriguing. He's worked with Patrick Mahomes. He's worked with Kyler Murray. That's the style of quarterback that I want the Raiders to go after. Then on top of that, you add Getsy's ability to have a lot of success in the running game, because I'll tell you what, when you look at Getsy's offenses in terms of what they have been able to do on the ground, a lot of success. So to me, if you bring in both of those guys, kind of like what the Raiders are thinking potentially doing at GM, right? Like you keep Ed Dodds at GM and maybe you hire Champ Kelly as an intern, or vice versa. Or, maybe you bring in somebody like Ed Dodds at GM and then you keep Tom Telesco as an front office type of executive. Bottom line is I like the Raiders thinking outside the box here a little bit. And my outside the box thinking is Kingsbury's OC, Luke Getsy at quarterback coach for the Silver and Black. One of the things that I want to look at here is Aaron Rodgers' stats, and the reason I want to look at this is because Getsy was a part of Aaron Rodgers' regime back in 2019 as a QB coach, and yes, this was not the best year that Rodgers had at 26 touchdowns, 4 interceptions. What's more important is instead of just looking at the numbers here by Rodgers, it's guess what? It's connections. And if Getsy has a good connection with Rodgers has a good connection with Devontae Adams, and you need to be able to make sure that you're making Adams happy as much as humanly possible on the offensive side. So because of all these ties, I could see Getsy being an intriguing option in terms of being that quarterback coach. On top of that, though, the Bears' offense in 2022, which was not great in terms of throwing the football, passing yards per game, I think this is more to blame on the simple fact of no offensive line, no talent around Justin Fields. But this is also the season that the Chicago Bears ranked #1 in rushing yards per game. It's also the season that Justin Fields broke the single-season record for most rushing yards by a quarterback. So if you were going to go out and get a guy like Jaden Daniels, all right, I can have Jaden Daniels learn next to Luke Getsy, who helped Justin Fields have his best rushing season of his career. And then on top of that, I can get Kliff Kingsbury, who knows the air raid, who can really spread it out. You combine both of those things, and that's kind of intriguing to me. Then Bears offense in 2023, it did get a little bit better. They added a little bit more talent around it. So to me, you are building a offense, because if I'm going to hire Antonio Pierce, I want Pierce to manage the defensive side of the football, right? And then one of my keys for this offseason for the Raiders is giving the keys to somebody on offense. And if that's Kliff Kingsbury and if that's Luke Getsy, two people that have head coaching and offensive coordinator experience, and then you let them create what they want to be able to do on the offensive side of the football, I think that's intelligent. If you want to do it with Kliff Kingsbury and Zac Robinson, I'll admit, I don't see Robinson leaving unless it is an OC job. So if you wanted to bring in Zac Robinson for OC, and then you want to put Getsy in at a quarterback coach, I'm in, man. Hell, if Kliff would be willing to take a quarterback coach for the Raiders, I'm in, right? To me, bringing in two out of those group of people and then just stacking up that offensive side is a better overall option for the Raiders. So here's kind of what I'm thinking here. You bring in Kingsbury as OC, Getsy at quarterback coach. AP has a good relationship with Kingsbury. Champ Kelly has ties with Getsy. Yeah, and you're also going to make Devontae Adams happy. Sounds like a win to me. So what is your one-word reaction if the Raiders hire both Kingsbury and Getsy? And the reason why my mind is just going around this topic here is because it's what the Raiders have kind of done this offseason. It's like two names, a few names are just randomly linked at the exact same time. And to me, it's like one candidate is better than the other. So could you potentially bring in both of those candidates? One-word reaction for if the Raiders were to hire both Kingsbury and Getsy. Mine is excitement. The Raiders' offense needs to have some excitement this season. And to me, Kingsbury, that's going to be exciting. Getsy, you bring in somebody who's going to have experience in terms of getting the running game going. We know how much Antonio Pierce loves the running game, but also taking advantage of some of those running ability from an athletic quarterback, which is what the Raiders need. You need a quarterback that's exciting, and I think that would be an exciting offense. So to me, Raiders are just wasting their time until you can find that quarterback that can compete with Patrick Mahomes. You're just wasting your time until you can find a guy that can compete with Josh Allen, Lamar Jackson. Can Aiden O'Connell beat Patrick Mahomes in a game on Christmas Day? Yeah. They also had 2 pick sixes, though, in that football game. Like, to me, I don't want it to be little giants where little whatever the heck coming down Cherry Hill Lane, and all it takes is you can win one time. Anybody in any sport can win one time. But legitimately, if these teams were to do a 7-game series, if it's Aiden O'Connell up against Patrick Mahomes, they're not winning the series. If it's a 7-game series against Josh Allen, you're not winning the series. If it's a 7-game series against Lamar Jackson, you're not going to do it. So to me, the only way that you're going to be a legit Super Bowl contender is if you find a quarterback that can compete with these guys. And I think with this offense that I have created here, you're going to be able to get the most out of those guys. Coming up here, Raiders GM and defensive coordinator news. We are going to get into the latest here around Patrick Graham. On top of that, there are a few things that we have to discuss in terms of Raiders GMs because it's starting to heat up, and I think that this thing could happen sooner rather than later. If you don't know, well, hey, I want to tell you about it. Chugs and I were hosting a Super Bowl 58 watch party in Las Vegas, where at the Ahern Luxury Boutique Hotel, if you want to reserve a spot, you can give them a call literally right now and say, hey, I want to reserve a spot for our Raiders Report watch party. When is it? Sunday, February 11th at 2 p.m. Pacific time. The venue itself, from what I understand, holds somewhere between 85 to 100 people. It's going to be first come, first serve. So, again, if you want to reserve a spot because you know you're going to be there, give them a call and say, hey, I'm going to pull up. If you want to know what it looks like from the outside, this is what the hotel looks like. It's a little bit outside of the strip, so it's honestly, beautiful hotel. They have a lot of different ins and outs, but why I'm really excited is because of the entire environment and the experience. So if anybody's ever been to an Xfinity Live, a Texas Live, that's what we're going to try to do here. There's a full bar in the back. Chugs and I will be up on stage. There's going to be opportunities for y'all to pull up, have a beer bong with us, do a boot. If somebody bangs live on YouTube, there's going to be a bunch of drink deals. There's going to be football signings. There's going to be jersey giveaways. Potentially Raiders players there. And then if you're like, well, I don't want to just go to Vegas for the Super Bowl watch party, Joel's Chop House, one of the best steakhouses in Vegas, located inside the Ahern. If you're more of a wine connoisseur, they have a wine bar and social club inside of Ahern as well because, hey, maybe you want to take wifey, she's going to get some bottles of wine, and then you can hang out for the Raiders Sport, or maybe it's vice versa. But we will have special food and drink deals. There's going to be tons of giveaway opportunities, and then there's going to be opportunities for y'all to pull up, hang out with Chugs and I, watch the Super Bowl, and then instead of me doing a beer bong every time somebody bangs, somebody is going to be on the show doing a beer bong. There's going to be boots. It's going to be something that I am really, really excited about. We've done a lot of watch parties in the past in Vegas. This one's going to be unlike we've ever done anything before. And the reason why I want y'all to pull up, because if it goes well, being honest with you, then there's a chance for us to be able to go there every single game next year. So if you want to have the opportunity to do Raiders Report watch parties in Vegas, hang out with us, please don't be afraid. Pull up. It's going to be one hell of a time. Bring as many people as you want. Many people as you want. It would help us out. Also, let's get into here to the latest around Patrick Graham. The Raiders, they will meet with Mike Caldwell for a senior defensive staff position with DC flexibility if Patrick Graham gets a head coaching job per Tom Telesco. For those that don't follow me on social media or maybe aren't subscribed here to the show, I talked about how Patrick Graham is going to have a second interview with the Seattle Seahawks for their head coaching gig. I do not anticipate that he gets the job. I know Seattle is interested, but to me, the guy that they're going to hire is Dan Quinn. I'll tell you this, though, because I've heard this from a source. If the Seahawks do not hire Dan Quinn to be their head coach for whatever reason, maybe Quinn wants to stay in Dallas or he doesn't like the job, the next guy that they're thinking about hiring is Patrick Graham. So this needs to be taken very seriously. Mike Caldwell for DC, I would not like this at all. More updates here, though, from the Raiders general manager standpoint. This one's rolling in from Vic Tafur from The Athletic. Former Chargers GM Tom Telesco is in Las Vegas for a second interview for the Raiders GM job. The reason why this is very intriguing to me is because Mark Davis about a month, 2 months ago stated that he was a little bit hesitant on hiring a GM and a head coach that it would be their first-time job. Telesco was with the Chargers from 2013 to 2023. So from what it sounds like right now, there are 3 people in the running for this job. Tom Telesco, Ed Dodds, and Champ Kelly. All of them are going to have their second interviews today and tomorrow. And Ian Rappaport was on TV today, and he said that he believes the Las Vegas Raiders are going to hire a GM either today or tomorrow at some time. He also then said that he wasn't 100% sure. He just knows it's going to happen sooner rather than later. The bottom line is this, though. With the Raiders hiring Antonio Pierce on Friday, with the Raiders now starting to transition to their offensive job search because other teams are already starting to hire OCs, the GM hiring is going to come sooner rather than later. I'm going to say it's either going to happen today on Monday, tomorrow on Tuesday, or on Wednesday. When it does end up going down, we will be live here on the Raiders Sports. Make sure you guys pull up, hit that subscribe button, and turn on those notifications. All right, my man. I'm going to switch up my jersey. One-word reaction to if the Raiders hire Kingsbury and Getsy. I also got to mention this because we have yet to do it. $10 Venmo.
Oh.
$10 Venmo for a chance to win a little bit of money. We'll do a 50-50 raffle at the very, very end of the show.
That's on me. I totally
I forgot, too, so it's not on you.
I forgot. $10 Venmo to get in our 50-50 raffle. Let's get it started and let's get it started and yeah. Also, I wanted to ask this question as well. So make sure you get in for our 50-50 raffle. But also, we asked, hey, what team do you think is going to win the AFC? What teams do you think is going to win the NFC? Out of these 4 teams, who do you think has the best odds to win it all? I'm going with the Baltimore Ravens. I'm typing in my R right now. Who do you think is going to win it all? Let me know down in the comments section. If you think it's the Chiefs, type those C's. If you think it's the Ravens, type the R's. If you think it's the Lions, type those L's. 49ers, type in the 4s. I think it's Lamar's year. I think the Ravens are going to be able to pull this one out. I like the Lions. I want the Lions to win it all, but I just don't see it. I want the Lions to win. But my mind's telling me it's the Ravens, the Baltimore Ravens. I see King Higgins says Ravens, a lot of Ravens and a lot of Lions, which makes sense. Daniel Caps Keenum spamming the R, so I guess if I was reading that, Daniel, it would be... You
gotta roll it. Gotta roll those R's, man. I've really tried to learn how to roll my R's. I can't do it. I'm awful at it.
Yeah.
Let's go to Isaac. What's up, Isaac? I think we should get Fields, build the defense up even more. We have good weapons on O. We just need a better scheme, and I think we can be dangerous. We definitely need a better scheme. I think my problem, though, with adding Justin Fields is, to me, then you're going to go with more of a run-heavy type of offense. And you're not going to go more run-heavy type of offense when you have Devontae Adams on the outside. Like, Trey Tucker doesn't seem somebody, like, how can I phrase this? I would want you to go more of a power run with Justin Fields. You bring back a guy, honestly, like a Josh Jacobs, and then your receivers are built more to be better blockers than receivers. Jacoby Myers is probably the best blocker in that group. Devontae, I'm not paying him the amount of money that the Raiders are paying him to be just, he'll still be a hell of a receiver, don't get me wrong. But then Trey Tucker, undersized. Mayer's a good tight end to be able to get involved in that. I would need to see the vision of the Raiders offense a little bit more than what it's in my mind right now to be really sold on Justin Fields, because I don't think he's a good thrower of the football. Like, I think he's a below average thrower. Is he a great athlete? Yes. To me, though, you need to have all the tools. You need to have the entire repertoire to be really, really special. Could it be an option, though? Yes, Justin Fields is going to be an option for the Raiders. Wild one. I did mean Justin Fields. So this was back to David's on the conversation. All right, I gotcha. Yeah. John Castillo, if we don't move up, would Minshew work? No.
I mean,
why can you?
You're talking about getting marginally better at the position. Is he better than Aiden O'Connell or anybody you have right now? Yes, it would be an upgrade over your quarterback room right now. But it's like,
I would rather you roll with Aiden O'Connell on his rookie deal instead of paying Gardner Minshew $15 million a year to be your guy. Like, why Gardner Minshew? That's you going into a race, right? The Super Bowl, the NFL season every year is think of it as the Indy 500, okay? You're going into that race with Gardner Minshew. Everybody else is driving or there's some teams that are driving with legit Indy cars. You're pulling up in a Honda Prius. You're not going to win. Like, you might not come in last, but you're not going to win.
If you ain't first,
you're last. Shake and bake. Wrong way. AP, future QB, will determine his legacy. Like, this is the point now where Antonio Pierce will be judged on the offense. Like, I made all these, I was battling in the Twitter streets, Instagram streets, hell, and these streets here on this show saying it's not fair to judge Antonio Pierce on the offense because it was the Josh McDaniels offense. Now, with him being the head coach, he will be determined on the quarterback. His fate will be determined on how good this offense could be. That's a cold, hard fact. He finally gets his opportunity to make a statement, and right now, he needs to do it. And I hope that he gets it right. K-Smooth. Fletcher Cox is a free agent and could be cheap. No. There's no way Fletcher Cox is going to be cheap. $15 million a year at minimum.
Like, cheap compared to, like, the top guys.
Sure.
But, like, it wouldn't be like a vet min.
Yeah, I mean, Fletcher Cox to me doesn't go for under like $12, $15 million per year. And what I would rather the Raiders do is I would rather you add a Christian Wilkins, a Justin Madden. That's going to cost more. I'm okay with that, though. Like, to me, I want to be able to find a defensive player that I believe that I can rely on for the next 3 to 4 years, because that's Antonio Pierce's window. The next 3 to 4 years to be able to figure it out. I'm Punchy. What would be your reaction if we move up the draft, our quarterback of the future, and AOC beats him out in camp?
Oh, shit. We're doomed.
That's a good problem to have. Like, to me then, that means Aiden O'Connell is just on a whole nother level. And then what you end up doing is you take a page out of what the Green Bay Packers have done, and it could be another reason why maybe you bring in Getsy to be your quarterback coach, because if there's one team that's really been able to figure out the quarterback spot, it's Brett Favre, Aaron Rodgers, and now Jordan Love. Jordan Love looks like he's going to be a pretty damn good quarterback in the league. I still want to see it another year because you see some good flashes of Love, and then you saw what happened this past week with Jordan. Like, then if that's the case, you're going to let your young quarterback sit for a year, maybe 2, which that's not what I want to happen. If you trade up, though, in the top 3, I believe that no matter what, if you trade up into the top 3, you're rolling with that guy.
Now we got a bunch of people talking about Cox coming in the black hole in the comment section.
Yikes. MT Raider, if Kingsbury is OC, what are the chances we get Kyler Murray? I'd say less than 1%. Thoughts on Baker Mayfield in silver and black? Don't like Baker in silver and black. I think he's should stay in Tampa. I don't want to pay Baker $25 million a year to join our team. Like, I do not want to do it. And then Kyler, exact same thing. I'm not trading. It's going to cost more probably to go get Kyler Murray than what it would for you to trade up into the top 3.
And his contract is ridiculous.
And I'm not paying him $50 million for a guy who's a known, not a leader.
Dude, bro, Cox and Penix?
You too. Get a room. Zon!
Talking about crossing swords, Raider Nation.
If we sign Fields for anything other than a bridge QB, then we might as well trade Devontae and Max because we will lose a lot. I don't think the Max is ever going to be involved in a trade. I mean, the thing is, though, the Raiders players like Justin Fields. Like, I am telling you that I have talked to multiple Raiders guys that have said, we like Justin Fields. So
we like Justin, and we don't care who knows.
You add that to Champ Kelly with his ties. When you say bridge quarterback, like, it's not going to be Justin Fields and Jaden Daniels. Like, that's not the recipe. If you want to trade for Justin Fields in the second or third, and then if you're going to draft a guy like a Joe Milton would be a interesting bridge quarterback for Field. Like, you got to find a QB that's going to run a similar scheme. Justin Fields is not going to be the bridge guy. Tyler, is there a universe where we develop AOC and let him keep cooking? I get it. It was rough, but he's a rookie and improved throughout the season. I mean, why are we going to let him keep cooking, right? Like, when you say cooking, like, to me, you're hiring a McDonald's chef to go cook at Joel's Chop House at Ahern's Hotel, right? Like, Aiden O'Connell's nothing more than a backup, y'all. Like, and I think the people that are really failing to realize that Aiden is just a backup, it's the same people that thought Derek Carr was an elite quarterback. Derek Carr was good to average to below average. That's where Derek is. That's where Derek was. That's where he's going to be.
I just don't know how you see Josh Allen, Lamar Jackson, Patrick Mahomes, and C.J. Stroud as the 4 final teams in the AFC. Your conference that you're going to have to deal with if you ever want to make the Super Bowl, make the playoffs, and you're like, you know what? I put AOC up against those guys.
It's nothing wrong with being a backup. Aiden's going to make millions of dollars. He's probably going to have a career like a Brian Hoyer he's in the NFL for 10, maybe 15 years, and he's going to be a good backup QB. But this is your year to make it. And if that's your plan to roll out there with Aiden, I am going to be very mad at Antonio Pierce.
And people talk about, Brock Purdy, he was drafted late, all this stuff. Brock Purdy, his first, action in the NFL was remarkably better than AOC's first games in the NFL.
Like, some of y'all are saying we've seen only half a year of AOC. I mean, at what point in that season were you like,
if you put me in at quarterback for half a year and you're like, you know what, he was awful, but we did only see half a year of that. I'd like to see a full year of sucking.
Yeah, I can't believe that people want AOC back. I don't know.
I'll take the tuna. Pause.
Letting him keep cooking. What's he cooking?
I'd rather take Penix than watch him suck for a whole year.
Yeah. Somebody clip that. John, at least we ain't driving a Pinto. LOL. Hey, a Pinto, you rolling with AOC's like having a Pinto in a NASCAR race. It's not going to win. Hefty. F the Fruity Niners and KC Queefs. I hope the Ravens or Lions win. And let's get 1A Caleb or 1B Jaden. I think Caleb's going number 1 of the Bears. I think they're hiring a Shane Waldron today. There's a lot of smoke around that idea. And to me, Caleb's going to be a Bear. Sooner you get that through your head, probably the better. Commanders, I'm curious to see what they end up doing.
Could you imagine the Patriots, instead of taking a quarterback at 3, they trade for Justin Fields with their second, maybe 4th-round pick, and they draft Marvin Harrison at 3?
I mean, if you want to tell me an offense that I think could benefit with Justin Fields, and if I'm New England and cold weather, I'm looking for a quarterback.
Because I'm thinking New England has, past 10 years, the one thing they haven't been able to do is draft a good wide receiver. Do you say, hey, maybe we get a quarterback like Justin Fields in a trade, and we draft the sure thing Marvin Harrison, because he is more than Caleb Williams, more than Drake May, the most sure thing in this NFL draft, barring injuries, I think most scouts will agree Marvin Harrison will be a good to great NFL wide receiver.
To me, I have not been more confident on a wide receiver. Like Marvin Harrison Jr. to me he's a lock to be a top 10 receiver in the NFL.
I wouldn't, if I'm the Patriots, I wouldn't hate that trading for Justin Fields with your second, maybe fourth round pick. You take Marvin Harrison at 3, and then at that point the Raiders could maybe trade up to 4. But it would be if that is the scenario, the pick at 4 with the Cardinals will become a bidding war between probably the Raiders, Falcons, and Giants.
Yeah, all those teams could use a QB. It'll be interesting, man. I'm excited to see how this entire year unfolds. There's no doubt about it. Let's go to the next one. I believe it's from Mount Raider Morzon. F those people screaming for, I think that's Fields. Looking at strength of our division versus Chicago's. Just stop.
I mean, arguably the NFC North, like.
I mean, yeah, you can make an argument the NFC North was better this year than the AFC West. I think it's a fair argument.
It was. 2 teams made the playoffs.
I think it's a fair argument.
And you're saying the strength of schedule. The Raiders, as we all say, did not do well compared to what we all wanted the Raiders to do. They finished second in our division.
Did they?
It was the Chiefs, and then the Raiders, and then I think because they were tied with the Broncos, and they won both games, they got second place in the division.
Yeah, you're right.
So if you're saying the NFC North is worse than the AFC West, statistically, that's not true this year.
Like, to me, the only way that you can be comfortable going for Justin Fields is if you pick up the call, you call all 3 of those teams that are drafted in the top 3, all 3 of those teams tell you to go F yourself. It's not going to happen. And then you go, okay, well, what's the next best plan? The next best plan to me then is trading like a second or a third round pick for Justin Fields, and then you try to just build as much around him as humanly possible. Like, that to me is not a bad plan. It's not the plan that I want, but if you're telling me I can't get Jaden, Drake May, or Caleb Williams, then to me, Justin Fields is my 4th option. What up, Real Cowboy? If we are going to quarterback in free agency, we got to go Wilson on a cheap deal if he is available. I don't disagree with this idea. I don't love Wilson. I think he's a cornball. I think he's a weird dude. But if the slogan is just win, baby, and if the slogan is commitment to excellence, if you can find a quarterback like Russell Wilson who potentially could take a deal at $1.21 million this year once he's cut by Denver, a top 15 QB, like that's a deal that smart organizations would try to take advantage of. Like, that's the deal that I'm really wondering if Bill Belichick gets hired in Atlanta, like that's the team that I actually think then Russell goes to. Like, to me, Russell Wilson and Bill at this point in their careers,
Maybe.
That would be a dynamic duo that I would be afraid of that. And then hopefully McDaniels goes there and ruins it all.
John Rodriguez, F the draft. If we can't get Fields, then do whatever we have to do to move up to 2 or 3.
Okay. Shane, I heard that Tay is campaigning for Cousins. The only way I agree with that is if we trade up, draft a QB in the draft, and wait till they're ready. So basically what happened was Devontae Adams was on a podcast, and he was asked about certain players, certain quarterbacks, and he spoke very highly about Kirk Cousins, about free agency, and like let's be real here. Out of the free agent quarterbacks, Kirk Cousins is going to be the best one available. Like, he is. It's not saying a lot, but he's going to be the best one available. And I think what people are taking out of context here a little bit is the idea of Devontae being like, I want Kirk Cousins. I think it was more of a, if we're in a free agency standpoint, Cousins gives us the best option. Also on top of that, though, is anybody, give me a Y for yes and N for no right now, willing to pay Kirk Cousins $40 million a year? Because that's what he's getting.
I would take half.
That's what he's getting. If you say, yes, Mitch, I'm willing to give Kirk Cousins $40 million per year to be our quarterback, which it's an option. The Raiders only have 50 point whatever in salary cap. Now they're going to make some moves. I think Las Vegas is probably going to be closer to 80, 90 million at some point of overall salary cap money. They're only going to get 30 million post June 1st once they cut Renfro and Jimmy Garoppolo. But like, if Kirk Cousins says, hey, I'll sign a deal that's $20 million a year, great. Not happening. $40 million to me is the lowest that he's going to go. and he usually wants guaranteed contracts.
I already know what you're going to say to this.
3 firsts, 3 seconds, Jacoby Hobbs for the first pick. So you're saying
the next 3 firsts, the next 3 seconds, Jacoby Myers, Nate Hobbs for number 1.
Oh, man. I actually think that this might be too much, if I'm being honest with you.
I think if the Bears didn't want Caleb Williams a lot, they would say yes to this. But I don't think
to me that's too much. To me it's not going to cost that much. Like, you throwing in Jacoby and Nate Hobbs, to me, proven players that Jacoby would be the one I'd rather throw in. Hobbs, to me, is a guy that I think if the Raiders were smart, they would give him a contract extension and tie him to Antonio Pierce and all that. But if that was what it cost to go get Caleb Williams, and I'm saying this, though, like, if you told me, Mitch, Commanders said no, the Patriots said no, and there's no way that you can get into the top 3 unless you do this trade right here, if that's the only way I can do it, then I would do it. But if you're asking me right now on the surface level, that is too much if you look at the trade value chart and everything that I've heard in terms of going up and getting your guy. However, though, if Caleb Williams turns out to be that dude, you're going to go back and look at this trade and go, it was 100% worth it. What's up, OC? Is it true Champ Kelly has been involved in AP's hire? What is the holdup at GM openings? P.S. I was at the Niner game and their fans were pretty lifeless. Whack. Is it true that Champ Kelly has been involved? Yes, so Champ Kelly has been involved with a lot of the he was involved in the interview with Chris Richard. He was involved in the interview with Leslie Frazier. I think the plan always was that they were going to hire Antonio Pierce. The reason for the holdup right now is because the Raiders executives that make the decision on head coaches, GMs, are very split. They are split between Ed Dodds and Champ Kelly. Also, it was reported about 2 months ago that Mark Davis said he was a little bit uneasy about the idea of hiring a first-time GM and a first-time head coach together. So the fact that they've hired a first-time head coach in Antonio Pierce, there are some people that are wondering, is he going to bring in a Tom Telesco, not to be the GM, but to help out Dodds or help out Champ Kelly as more of a front office type of job role. Rodriguez.
No.
$40 million for Cousins. I agree. I do not want to pay Kirk Cousins that much money because I think Cousins, kind of falls into this tier of Dak Prescott, where falls into the tier of Derek Carr, and Carr's never even gotten there. If playoff time comes around, Kirk Cousins against Patrick Mahomes, who you betting your money on? I mean,
but Patrick Mahomes is on the Jaguars.
To me, I'm done with Cousins might help the Raiders get to the playoffs. He might. He really might. But I don't look at Cousins with the Raiders sitting up here saying, all right, we're going to win the Super Bowl this year. The only realm of a possibility that I see the Raiders winning a Super Bowl in the next 3 years is if you hit on one of those quarterbacks in the draft. And they turn out to be that difference maker. I don't see a Lombardi with Kirk Cousins. I don't see a Lombardi with Aiden O'Connell. The way that I see it is with one of those stud quarterbacks in the draft. It's the only way I can see it.
You wanted to trade for Jordan Love.
I did want to trade for Jordan Love, but that was a while ago. They didn't listen to me. It's all right. Though I don't know if Jordan Love would have turned out to be Jordan Love. He might have needed that extra time to get better. Love flashed really good signs of, man, this guy's really talented. And then there's some other throws you're just like, holy shit.
I mean,
what the hell is he doing?
How much of a sigh of relief are the Packers front office members breathing right now with everybody giving Jordan Love his flowers with the trade that they made with Aaron Rodgers? They're like,
yeah. But good teams, though, I think lay a blueprint and they stick to it. And you have to give the Packers that credit. Zac Robinson for OC, it has been discussed, so he is going to be interviewing with the Raiders sometime this week. And he's going to be a part of the next segment that we talk about as well.
It's actually, going to be talked about more in just a moment. So we're going to get into our next segment. Also, right after the segment, we're going to do our 50-50 raffle. $10 Venmo to enter if you want to get in. Do we have anybody in so far?
Oh, shit. I got to refresh my phone. Yeah, we got a few people in. And then I'll try to find the list of the Raiders' decision makers because it's 6 people that are really close to Mark Davis. I'll try to. I have the list somewhere. It's like Richard Seymour, Ken Herock, Sarah's a part of it.
Tom Brady.
Tom Brady apparently is not like a part of like the 6, but Mark Davis is clearly listening to him. I'll try to find the list, but there are 6 people that are making a bunch of the decisions. All right, in terms of our duck race here, we do have a few people that are in. Matt Fluhey.
Nice.
He's in twice. Matt Fluhey. I actually accidentally added the G there, Flugie, so don't be mad at me.
Caleb, I don't understand how I don't understand the hate towards Fields. He improved every year and had one decent wide receiver for 1 year and a terrible O-line. I agree. I think he could be a good quarterback.
It's not the disrespect. It's the planning process. Like, it is Justin Fields' option 4 to me. And it's not, to me, if you don't get one of those top quarterbacks in the draft, then, your plan is Justin Fields. But the problem with that timeline is people a lot of times say, oh, well, we'll get Justin Fields if we don't get a top quarterback. It's not how it works. Free agency's in March, the draft's in April. To me, you got to make up your mind what you're doing now. And then you got to go and execute that plan going forward. Like, to me, going out and getting Justin Fields right now feels like settling. And I just don't want the Raiders to settle.
Raider Smoke 89, formerly known as Papaya Man 89. Mitch, it's been a while. Love the show. I say trade up and draft Jaden Daniels. Formerly known as Papaya Man.
I mean, I actually would have known by the picture. But Raider Smoke 89, formerly known as Papaya Man.
It's not formal. It's formerly known as.
Papaya Man 89. Dude, Papaya Man, he's been a legend here. I got a few shout-outs here for some people that are in our duck race. Matt Fluhey, Sal Lopez, Willie Pfister, Luis Rodriguez, Kevin Anderson, Julio Quinn, and then Anthony Green.
Quick question, Mitchell.
Julio, I don't know how to pronounce your last name, so it's going to be...
Is that correct?
It's going to be Julio Quinn. So
All right.
Right now we have 8 people in, 10 to get in. That means winner would go home with $40. Sound good? All right, coming up here next on the Raiders Report, we are going to get into my OC candidates. I don't even know what to say to that. That looks like Willie Pfister. It's just Willie Pfister hanging out all day. There's a few people watching the show right now being like, how the hell is he doing that? Whoa. It's probably Patrick B. He's like, whoa. Dude, I can remember my uncles doing that, and I was just mind blown. Absolutely mind blown. All right, let's get into some of these OC candidates here on the show. We are going to have a sponsor here from Panda Subs, so please just keep that in mind. Show them a little bit of love. But if you're wondering who I believe is going to be the Raiders OC in 2024, we're going to get into these rankings as soon as Jeremy finds his thumb. That's impressive. All right, let's get it going. Raider Nation, what's going on? It's Mitchell Renz here, host of the Raiders Report, and coming up on today's show, I'm going to be ranking the top 10 OC candidates for the Las Vegas Raiders. Before I get into that, I got to show some love to today's sponsor, Panda Subs. I don't know about you, new year, new me. I always try to eat a little bit healthier, and the last time that I went to the doctor, they told me, Mitch, you need to start cutting out a little bit of that salt. Probably the boots would help cut it out as well. Bottom line is, I got some awesome deals here from Panda Subs, whether it's workout supplements or they have some brand new food shakers that I think you guys are going to absolutely love. Use code Raiders for 20% off at pandasubs.com. So what you're going to be seeing here on this list is the way that I have these these coaches ranked is from the likelihood of them being the OC of the Raiders combined with how much I like them overall as a coach. So what I try to do here is go a little bit of a mixed bag of likelihood and how much I like them as a potential OC for the Silver and Black. Here's the one thing that I do know. When the Raiders do end up hiring an offensive coordinator, I'm going to be going live on this show. When the Raiders hire a GM, I'm going to be going live on this show. Why? It's what we do here. I like interacting with the nation. I like breaking down the news, but I love hanging out with y'all when big stuff happens, when it's live. I don't want you to miss it. Pull up to the party, hit that subscribe button. So again, y'all, these Raiders OC rankings are going to be based off what I believe the Raiders could/should do in 2024. Some of the names are going to be names that have already been linked to the Raiders and already do have interviews scheduled. And then there's going to be some other names up here that I'm just putting in the mix in terms of adding to who are some NFL OC candidates that the Raiders could also at least just keep in mind. Let's go to number 10 here on my list. It's Frank Reich, former head coach of the Indianapolis Colts and former head coach of the Carolina Panthers. The problem with Reich is I think he's kind of got the raw end of the stick the last 2 times that he's gotten hired, and he's going to have some head coaching experience. He has also coached some good offenses in his time, and one thing I'm worried about with Antonio Pierce is I want to be able to find somebody that I'm confident in that I could hand the keys to the OC to, and Reich with his experience could be intriguing. I will admit, though, what happened in Carolina was a disaster, but I do think that was more to do with David Tepper than anything else. And the fact that he's worked with Ed Dodds from 2018 to 2022, if Dodds ends up being the GM, and depending when you guys watch this video, just keeping it out there, like if Dodds ends up getting hired, I do think Frank Reich could be another option that might move up the board a little bit in terms of who could be the next OC for the Raiders. Let's go to number 9 here, Byron Leftwich, former offensive coordinator of the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. And the reason why Byron's on this list is he's learned underneath guys like Bruce Arians, who's had a very aggressive passing style of offense. And if the Raiders are linked to Kliff Kingsbury, which they have been, maybe they're looking for more of a pass-happy type of offensive attack. He was an NFL quarterback from 2003 to 2012. Coached in the NFL from 2016 to 2022. He's worked with guys like Mike Tomlin, who I got a lot of respect for that. You guys know I have compared to Antonio Pierce, and when he talks, people listen. The other thing, though, is it's been well documented and reported this offseason that Mark Davis has listened to Tom Brady. Tom Brady won a Super Bowl back in 2021 with the Tampa Bay Buccaneers when Byron Leftwich was OC. So to me, if they're going to listen to Brady, it's just a name to at least keep in mind that could come in for an interview. So it's going to be the pinned comment on today's show, and I want you to predict who is going to be the Raiders offensive coordinator in 2024. So you're about to get hit with that YouTube ad break. I want you to scroll on down. The person that's number 1 on this list is my answer. Let's go to number 8 here. It's Darrell Bevell, quarterback coach, pass game coordinator of the Miami Dolphins. And to me, I know what the Dolphins have done on the offensive side of the football. It's been very effective. I do think it's a little bit more to do with Mike McDaniel and a little bit less to do with Bevell. However, though, he's got a nice little resume that he's starting to create here. So the Dolphins had the best passing offense and second best scoring offense this season. He was also the Seahawks OC back in 2014 when they ended up winning a Super Bowl. He has also worked with some pretty impressive quarterbacks like a Brett Favre, like a Brian Johnson, like a Russell Wilson, Matt Stafford, Trevor Lawrence, Tua Tagovailoa. So a lot of different types of quarterbacks, and some have had some success, some have not had some success. The bottom line, though, is if you want to have an offensive-minded guy that has been a part of some good coaching trees, that has been a part of some success, I do think Darrell Bevell is at least a name to keep in mind. Let's go to Chad O'Shea here, pass game coordinator and wide receiver coach for the Cleveland Browns. And I got to give him a lot of credit for what this guy was able to do this season, what the Browns were able to do this season, not having Deshaun Watson. They made Joe Flacco look pretty good. Chugs just can't get over the fact that this guy looks like he's got the longest neck of all time. Dude's got 3 Adam's apples right there. But he worked underneath Bill Belichick and with Tom Brady from 2009 to 2018. So again, there's some ties there to Tom Brady. It's also been documented that Bill Belichick and Mark Davis, they might have a conversation. But his offensive principles, they go back to the Shanahan style of offenses, the Kubiak tree. And for the Raiders, if you bring in a guy like Jaden Daniels, I think that Chad O'Shea would be kind of an intriguing option in that. On top of that, though, he's going to want to run the football. O'Shea is a big believer, I believe, in pounding the rock with Cleveland, and Antonio Pierce is somebody that believes in pounding the rock. So if you want to be able to still establish that running game, kind of like what Cleveland has done, I think O'Shea is just another name to keep in mind. Let's go number 6 here. This is going to be a little bit of a flyer, and the reason why I'm putting him here at 6 is because sometimes the NFL is a copycat league, and a lot of times when certain guys get interviews, Other people get interviews on top of that, and it just seems like sometimes there's hot names out in the streets, and one of the hot names in college football realm is Liam Cohn, the offensive coordinator for Kentucky. So he's had some ties to Sean McVay. And if you're an NFL team right now and you're trying to jumpstart your offense, if somebody has been connected or a part of the Sean McVay tree, guess what? It's worked just about every single place that he has gone. He did a great job, I thought, with Will Levis at Kentucky. Watching the jump that Levis had kind of made his final year at Kentucky, I think really showed that, okay, he can run a pro style of offense, and if you want to run a pro style offense, I do think that Cohen is an intriguing name, well-respected in the NFL, well-respected in the college football realm on top of that. So he's number 6 because I believe that his name is going to be mentioned a bunch in a lot of these NFL OC circles, where some of these other guys, I don't know if they'll get mentioned nearly as enough, but because he's got that college football spark, and from a lot of people that I talked to in the Raiders, they have looked at a lot of college coaches in terms of overall hiring cycle for QB coach, OC, a lot of different areas. Coming up here, my top 5 Raiders OC candidates that I would pair with Antonio Pierce. That's going to be coming up on today's show, but I do got to tell you about Panda Subs and all the awesome deals that they have going on over there. So one of the things that I'm really excited about that they finally has launched, and shout out to Merbodi's, the owner here of Panda Subs, diehard Raider fan. They got a little bit of help for me and get my salt down, but also for my meal prep. So Panda Subs Premium Seasoning Prep is partnered with Jeffrey Harris, who has over 1 million Instagram followers. Elevate your prep game to a whole new level. Join the Panda family, embracing a healthier, tastier lifestyle with Panda supplements and Jeffrey Harris's premium prep seasonings, specially crafted to tantalize your taste buds. These seasonings boost an impressive 0-calorie count per 710 milligram servings, ensuring guilt-free enjoyment with every sprinkle. Each serving contains under 100 milligrams of sodium, making it a smart choice for those mindful of their salt intake. Crafted with care using real high-quality ingredients, including a delightful blend of salt, honey, paprika, garlic, onion, pepper, parsley, and more, our seasonings guarantee an explosion of flavor in every bite. Whether you opt for something sweet like cinnamon honey butter, the classic appeal of urban butter, the earthy essence of roasted veggies, the spicy kick of Taco Tuesday, the fiery heat of Texas heat, or the harmonious blend of Hefe Special, there's a flavor for every palate. So elevate your culinary creations and make truly unforgettable flavor experience with Prep Premium Seasonings. Go get started at pandasubs.com. Use code Raiders for 20% off. That link's going to be available to y'all down in the comments and down in the description of today's show. All right, let's go to number 5 here on my list. It's going to be Greg Roman, former OC of the Baltimore Ravens. And this one is me being very honest with y'all. The only way that I am bringing in a guy like Greg Roman is if the plan for the Raiders is honestly to go out and trade for a guy like Justin Fields. I think if you had Justin Fields at quarterback, you bring in Greg Roman, who has worked with Colin Kaepernick, Tyrod Taylor, Lamar Jackson. He runs a very, very run-heavy style of football. He has been an OC for 3 different teams. The Niners from 2011 to 14, the Bills from 2015 to 16, and then Baltimore from 2019 to 2022. It's been documented that sometimes he can be a little bit of a difficult guy to work with. He does have connections, though, with Rob Ryan, and those two guys were pretty good friends when both were on the Baltimore Ravens coaching staff a few years ago. But to me, if you're going to go run happy, and if Antonio Pierce says we're going to bring back Josh Jacobs, we're going to go out and trade for somebody like Justin Fields, Greg Roman is a name to at least keep in mind. But here's the thing, though. There is a clear tier break from 4 all the way down. Like the 4 next names that you're going to see is what I truly believe the Raiders end up going this upcoming season. Number 4 on my list is Luke Getsy, former offensive coordinator of the Chicago Bears. And I'll keep it a buck with y'all. I do not want the Raiders to hire Luke Getsy to be their OC. Do I think Getsy would be a good quarterback coach? Yes, I do. OC would be a little bit too much for me. So the reason why Getsy's on here is because it has been reported that the Raiders are interested in bringing in Getsy. Getsy does have some ties with Champ Kelly. However, they never really crossed and when they were both with the Chicago Bears. He's been working in the NFL since 2014. He has worked with Aaron Rodgers, and if you're going to be smart for this hiring cycle, you got to be able to find an OC that Davante Adams likes, and guess what? Getsy has worked with Davante Adams. They were both together in Green Bay. Getsy worked with Aaron Rodgers. Those two had a pretty good relationship on top of that. But what I don't want is for the Raiders to go out, trade for Justin Fields, and then bring in Luke Getsy. Like, to me, that doesn't make any sense. He had a lot of success running the football. Luke Getsy's offenses were the 2 years that he was with Chicago, finished 1 and 2 in rushing yards, had more to do with the quarterback being dynamic, but really, really struggled throwing the football. The offensive line struggled on top of that. To me, young guy, built better to be a quarterback coach, but because the Raiders are reportedly interested in him, he's number 4 on my list. Another big tier break here, and I'll tell you right now, from here on out, you could hire these next 3 guys, and I'm going to be very, very happy when we go live on the Raiders report. Zac Robinson, pass game coordinator and quarterback coach for the Silver and Black. I will admit, the last time that I did a show for OC candidates, the guy that was number 3, I believe, ended up getting the job. He is from that Sean McVay tree, which has had tons and tons of success in the NFL. I'll admit he doesn't have any play calling experience, and when you listen to a lot of the reports, a lot of the sources that I talk to, if Mark Davis is nervous about hiring a first-time GM and a first-time head coach, I don't know if he's going to hire a first-time GM, a first-time head coach, and a first-time OC play caller in a very, very big year. He has worked with Matthew Stafford. He has worked with Jared Goff, has worked with Baker Mayfield. So to me, this would be a very interesting offense, more West Coast. He's going to get the play action going. But when you bring in McVay guys, they have had a lot of success. And Zac Robinson, I get it. He doesn't have any play calling experience, but when you hear people talk about him, it reminds me of the ways that, they would talk about guys like Sean McVay, the ways that they would talk about a guy like Mike McDaniel. Everybody at one point is unqualified, and then when they show it, then they become a hot commodity. What I'm worried about is this might be your opportunity this year to get Zac Robinson, bring him in, because I'm worried if you wait too long, next year, Robinson's going to be getting looked at for maybe potential head coaching gigs or maybe some other big opportunities in the NFL. So before we get into my top 2 OC candidates here for the Las Vegas Raiders, I do want to tell y'all we're going to be doing a Raiders Report Super Bowl 58 watch party in Las Vegas. Here is the address. Where is it going to be at? At the Ahern Luxury Boutique Hotel, a little bit off the strip. When? Sunday, February 11th, 2 p.m. Pacific time. If you want to give them a call right now and reserve your seats, it's honestly probably what I would recommend doing. You could do that. It's going to fit about 100 people. It's going to be first come, first serve. And I'm going to be real. I've already reserved a few spots, and there's going to be tons of giveaways. If you're a fan of what Jeremy and I do, and you've always wanted to party with us in person, if you've ever wanted to chug a beer live on the Raiders Report, if you've ever wanted to do a boot live on the Raiders Report, if you want to bang in person, well, now you're going to have an opportunity because we're going to be doing this inside of this venue here. It is going to be a full bar, and we're going to have a bunch of drink deals, bunch of food deals. There's going to be tons of Raider fans in attendance. There's going to be potentially some Raider fans there as well. It's going to be the Super Bowl game on one TV. We're going to have the Raiders Report on another TV. And like I said, it's going to be unbelievable. But on top of that, though, I want you to make it an entire day, make it an entire weekend. Go out to Vegas for the Super Bowl. Check out Joel's Chop House, located inside Ahern. I know we're going to have dinner 2 times there this week, or during Super Bowl week. If you like wine, they have an awesome wine bar and social club on top of that inside of Ahern. Bottom line is, if you're looking for something to do on Super Bowl Sunday and you want to party with Jeremy and I, pull up to the Ahern Boutique Hotel in Las Vegas. Tons of giveaways, special food and drink deals, and opportunities to join the show with us, which to me I think it will be the coolest thing. So again, this is where it's at. Here's the address. Don't be afraid to give them a call and say, hey, I want to reserve a spot for the Raiders Report Super Bowl 58 watch party. Here's the date. It's going to get started about 2 hours ahead of time. I can't wait. It's going to be a lot of fun. Let's go to number 2 here on my list. It is Kliff Kingsbury, pass game coordinator. And if you were to ask me, Mitch, who do you think might be the best overall hire for the Raiders? Kliff might be that guy. The reason why he's number 2 on my list here, though, is because the Raiders have yet to show interest in him from the time that I am making this video. Kubiak hails from the Kyle Shanahan tree. He also has a lot of ties, obviously, with his family, the Kubiak family, and the offense that they run. He does have a dynamic offensive scheme where quarterbacks have thrived and some quarterbacks have struggled. I mean, look at White now with Brock Purdy having some success. Last year, though, Russell Wilson was one of the worst years he's had. I do wonder if that was more to do with Nathaniel Hackett and the overall fit with Wilson in Denver. But to me, Kubiak has had some really good offenses. Like, one of the best offenses he's ever had was back in Minnesota. It's Kirk Cousins' best year. If you can make Kirk Cousins look like an MVP caliber quarterback, it's somebody that I'm going to be intrigued by. He's worked with Tannehill, Russell Wilson, Kirk Cousins, Brock Purdy. He's got a lot of good names, but a lot of good ties. And again, if you're going to bring in Antonio Pierce, you need to be able to give the keys to an OC that has some of that experience. With the amount of ties that he's got, I would be confident in Kliff Kingsbury running the Raiders offense from top to bottom. But coming in here at number one is the guy that I think that's just going to end up getting the job. It's Kliff Kingsbury, quarterback coach and senior offensive assistant at USC right now. Kliff has worked with a lot of big-name QBs, right? Like, if you're trying to beat Patrick Mahomes on a weekly basis, you're trying to compete with him because that's what the Raiders need to do. Kliff has worked with a quarterback like Patrick Mahomes back at Texas Tech. He has worked with a guy like Caleb Williams at USC. He has worked with Kyler Murray. He's worked with a lot of dynamic quarterbacks, but multiple reports indicate that the Raiders have been interested in him. And he's going to run a spread offense, which to me, I do think is what the Raiders need. I want excitement. I want to feel like the Raiders have a chance to put up 30, 40 points every single week because that's what good NFL teams do. Don't get me wrong. Defenses can win championships, and you still need a good defense in order to compete. But watching Lamar Jackson, Josh Allen, Patrick Mahomes, I want a guy that I have trust in who has been a head coach, wasn't a great head coach, but this is the ultimate of not a good head coach, but has shown that he can be a good coordinator. And that's why I have Kliff Kingsbury here at number one. So again, y'all, appreciate all y'all tuning in. I do want to give a shout out to the Noti Gang. If you don't know what the Noti Gang is, it's the people that take pride in hitting that subscribe button. It's the people that take pride in trying to be one of the very first commenters on a video that I drop here on this channel. So Jonathan, Damian, Silk Made It, Ghostmaster, I see y'all, and I appreciate the hell out of each and every one of y'all. So one more time here, our Raiders OC candidates that I would pair with Antonio Pierce: Frank Reich, Byron Leftwich, Darrell Bevell, Chad O'Shea, Liam Cohn, Greg Roman, Luke Getsy, though I'd rather have him at QB, Coach Zac Robinson, Kliff Kingsbury, and then Kliff Kingsbury. These are my top 10 Raiders OC candidates to pair with Antonio Pierce. Let's go to D. White. What up, man? Eric Bieniemy has some off-the-field issues, but I feel like pairing him with AP and trading into the top 3 is best-case scenario. He does have some off-the-field issues. Eric Bieniemy has interviewed for a bunch of jobs, and I don't know if he's just a really bad interviewer, but the other problem with Eric Bieniemy's past, and I know I've said this a bunch on this show, Al Davis made it very clear, and Mark has made it very clear, that anybody with domestic issues in their past, due to Fred Bilenikoff's daughter, they are not going to hire people that have the background that Eric Bieniemy has. I get people can change. I get Bieniemy is a smart, offensive-minded guy. There's guys in the NFL that have baggage on top of that. I'm just basing it off of Mark Davis's word, Al Davis's word, that they're not going to bring in somebody that has the background that Eric Bieniemy has. Slaughterproof. Do you believe the reports that Caleb Williams said he won't play for the Bears? I already know what tweet you're talking about, and it's from a fake account that somebody put out there. But now it's confirmed that Caleb Williams has already come out and said that, in his agent, that they're going to play for whatever team drafts him. So I know exactly what tweet you're talking about because I sent it to our Bears guy as a joke because I was like, I can't believe how many people think this is actually legit. But no, it's not true. Bobby.
OG Bobby Simpson.
I think our OC should have past head coach experience to balance out with AP's lack of. Couldn't agree with you more. It's one of the reasons why I have Kliff Kingsbury ranked at number 1 because he does have head coaching experience. Like, I get it. It didn't really go well, but to me, you still have that experience overall, and I want to be able to hand the keys to the offense to somebody and just say, here you go, do your thing. I'm going to concentrate on the defensive side of the football.
Here are the keys.
Aaron, get Kliff and maybe draft Daniels. I'm in. I think what the Raiders could do, what they have done is they have trusted Antonio Pierce. And the video that I put out earlier today, for those of you if you haven't seen it, it was a timeline of everything adding up to the Raiders potentially looking at Jayden Daniels. Like, in a perfect world, if you were to ask Antonio Pierce who he wants to have at quarterback, I bet he says Jayden Daniels because to him, he's a big relationships guy, right? The reason why he brought in Jack Jones because he had a great relationship with him and thought it could work out. So not only did Jayden Daniels give a shout-out to Antonio Pierce at his Heisman ceremony, he also gave a shout-out to Marvin Lewis. The Raiders also hired Marvin Lewis on Friday. Jack Jones earlier in the week said, Jayden Daniels, that guy's going to be a Raider. Jayden Daniels on Twitter took a picture with a girl and said, like, I'd like to be a Raider. Antonio Pierce then likes that picture. Like, to me, Devontae Adams saying that he's okay with Jayden. A lot of things. The fact that Jaden's in the Week 18 locker room after the Raiders win against the Broncos. A lot of things there.
And Venom Sosa.
What's up? I can't believe we made it this far until we did that. All right, y'all, final call. Final call to get in for our 50-50 raffle here. The last time that I checked, it was 10 to win 40, which now it's going to be a little bit more than that. So the last name that I got was Anthony Green. I see Adriano in. Jason Martinez, though, I'll just put him as OC Raider. Jason Martinez, you in. OC Raider, you in. Then I see Giovanni Tejada in. Anthony Merejil, but Anthony's in twice, so that gets us now to 13 names in here. Next one is Wesley Lawson in. David Anderson, you in. Ronald Woods in. And then Aaron Winnick, you in. So 17 people are in, Jeremy, which means that is...
Wait, I got you.
Here's where it gets tough.
85.
Winner gets $85. Justin Gilbert in. Justin Gilbert, you in. Mo Chavez, you in. Victor Quinn, you in. So now we're up to 20. So $10 Venmo for a chance to win $100. Mo, Justin. All right. Jeremy, I'm going to send you this list right here.
Last call.
I'm going to send you the list. Oh, Chugs in. Good luck to you. Amy in. Okay, so we have 22, which means winner would get 110. Mel says, not so fast, sweetheart. In. Oh, wow. Now we're getting a few more now. Mel S. Parza. Oh, I didn't get that right. Adrian Bravo. What an awesome name. Bravo. Victor. Okay. Oh, wow. I didn't even realize Victor. That was Hellcat. Huh, that's funny. Good luck to you, Hellcat. All right, here we go. 24 ducks in the race. I'm going to send the list over to Jeremy right now. We'll get those in, and then we're going to get it started here. Anything else that I receive, that's just going to go. Well, Bravo said, I want another one. So, Bravo, last one. Anything else just goes to Chuck's College Fund. Anything else goes to Chuck's College Fund. He's getting into Barkley. All right, Jack, you're the last one. Nobody else. Only because I like Jack. That's it. All right, Patrick B's Mount Raider more. I can't turn down Patrick B. So now we are at. Now I've lost count. 24, 25, 26, 27, maybe 28,
We're
somewhere
at
in there.
28.
28. So that means the winner would
gets 140.
Also, I know a lot of people, I've kind of talked about this before with Champ Kelly potentially getting a GM job if the Raiders didn't end up hiring him. The Carolina Panthers, they just hired their GM, and it's Dan Morgan. So the team that I thought potentially could hire Champ Kelly to be a GM was Carolina. Now that that's not the case, I don't know if he gets hired anywhere, and then if he doesn't get hired anywhere, then the Raiders don't get 2 third-round comps. So just keep that in mind. Okay, Jeremy, you said what, 28?
Mm-hmm.
All right, 28 people are in this race, which means winner's going to get $140. Wouldn't it be something if they started out as caterpillars? Might be better. All right, so apparently we're going to do a butterfly race today. Butterfly race. This is going to be interesting. Jeremy, add one more. David's on. Zahn saw butterflies, and he's like, bro, I got to get in on that.
If only we were doing a foot race.
Ooh, that's true. All right, can you mix them up? Little shuff. All right, here we go. Starting at 3, 2, 1. Let's go. Winner gets $145. Julio Quinn had the lead. Now Patrick B. Watch out for Amy down below there. Sal Lopez in an interesting spot. Fluhy, I spelled your name wrong. That's you down below. Martinez in an interesting spot. Mel! Come on, Mel. Keep it rolling.
David!
Keep it rolling. Mr. David Zahn starting to creep up here. I want to say Aaron Winnick's got this one by an antenna. Mel, though, I don't know if he's going to be able to hang on. David Zahn now. Looks like he might be taking the lead. Oh, man. I think she's stuck. I think she caught a wind gust, and she hasn't moved. Oh, Mel just got hit by something. OC Raider. I want to say OC's got the lead. Starting to fall back here a little bit. Now it might be Zahn. Watch out for Giovanni here in the back. Watch out for Giovanni Tejada. I think it's going to be him. Giovanni Tejada with the win. Impressive. Impressive there. Oh. Giovanni, Zahn, Anthony Green. Do we tell him what the person in last place gets? Adrian Bravo. You can ask Jamari Murray what I sent him last night for coming in last place. All right. Oh, boy. So, who was it again? Giovanni Tejada. I feel like a name like Giovanni Tejada, I mean, your chances of getting drafted in the MLB are significantly higher. Like, significantly higher. Congrats, good sir. Congrats. Giovanni Tejada, sent. If you could please confirm down below that you just won 145 doll hairs. 145 doll hairs. Giovanni says, let's go. Congratulations to him. All right, y'all. I'm going to get on out of here. Appreciate each and every one of y'all for tuning in to today's show. Remember, make sure you're subscribed because if the Raiders hire a GM, we will be going live here on the show. Sounds like it could happen tonight, tomorrow, or Wednesday, according to reports. On top of all that, though, please put this in your calendar. I hope that we can really pack this event. It would mean a lot to Jeremy and I because the ultimate goal is to be able to do this every single game day for the 2024 Raiders football season. And the only way that that's going to happen is if we pack the house. So if you're not doing anything for Super Bowl Sunday, if you are doing something, but hey, you know a few Raider fans that are going to be out there in Vegas, or you know a few people that live out in Vegas, here it is. Ahern Luxury Boutique Hotel. Party's going to get started somewhere around Sunday, February 11th at 2 p.m. Pacific time. It's going to be first come, first serve. So what I would recommend is come first. Yikes. Give them a call and say, I want to reserve a spot for the Raiders Report Super Bowl 58 watch party because I'm going to start already reserving some spots. I've already know a few people that are going to start reserving some spots. There's going to be tons of giveaways. It's going to be the coolest watch party that we have ever done here in Raiders Report history, and I hope you're there. So from me, from Jeremy Chuggs, peace out. Enjoy the rest of your night.